Hello and welcome to Story Guitar School. Today we're going to learn a song by Tyler Childers called Feathered Indian. So let's jump right into it. So the song's made up of 4 chords. We have our D major chord, which is our middle finger is on the 2nd fret of the high E string, ring finger is on the 3rd fret of the B string, and pointer finger is on the 2nd fret of the G string. We have our A major chord, which is 2nd fret of the B, G, and D strings. We have our G major chord. Middle finger is on the 3rd fret of the low E, ring finger is on the 3rd fret of the high E, pointer finger is on the 2nd fret of the A string. And our last chord is our B minor chord. So we're going to bar the 2nd fret. Middle finger is on the 3rd fret of the B string, ring finger is on the 4th fret of the D string, and pinky finger is on the 4th fret of the G string. Alright, so in the original version of this song, there's a capo on the 5th fret, and all the fingerings are the same, they're just moved down to the 5th fret. My voice is lower, so I tend to like to play the song up here closer to the nut. You can move the capo to wherever you want to be moving it to, but if you're trying to play to the song, you want to be at the 5th fret. So let's go ahead and get into it. So for the intro, we're starting with our D major chord, but we're going to start with our pointer finger off, and we want to make sure that we're just focusing on the G string and the B string. If we hit the high E string, it can drown out the little melody that we're going to be playing here. So we're going to start with our pointer finger off. We're going to strum our D and G, and we're going to do a hammer-on. Just like that. Hammer-on. We're going to do a hammer-on and then a strum. Alright. Once we have that hammer-on dialed and a strum, we're going to take our pinky finger, we're going to come over here on the 4th fret of the G string, we're going to put it on, and we're going to take it off. So far we have. Now we want to make sure we're not hitting that high E string because it'll kind of drown out this whole melody if you hit it too hard. I'll give you an example of what that sounds like. You can't hear much of the melody, so if we focus more on these two, it'll sound a lot better. The next step, so we have our hammer on, pinky off. Then we're going to strum and we're going to do a pull off with our pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. So we're going to kind of slingshot, we're going to pull the string down and sort of slingshot it up. Alright, so that's our D of the intro. After that slingshot pull off there, we're going to be jumping into our A chord, which will play a little bit interestingly for this intro as well. We're going to start off playing the lower strings, like our D, G, and B. We're going to focus on those. We're going to play those first open. Then we're going to do like a giant squish, like a big hammer-on across all of those strings. You want to make sure we're not hitting the A and the E strings, otherwise it'll have a weird, you'll be able to hear it when you do the hammer-on. I'll give you an example. It's kind of overpowering. We don't want to be hearing those 2 strings, we want to be hearing our D, our G, and our B. Alright, so we're going to do a open, strum, smush, a strum, a smush, and then a strum. Alright, after our 2nd strum, we're going to take our ring finger on the 4th fret of the D string, we're going to put it on and take it off. Alright, and then we're going to do another pull off on the 2nd fret of the D string. Alright, so now starting from the beginning, this is our intro so far. We're starting with our D chord on the B and G strings. Alright, we're getting there. So now we're going to jump over to our G chord. This one gets a little bit funky, so we're going to start on just the E string. We're going to play it open, and we're going to hammer on the 3rd fret with our middle finger. Alright, now when we do this hammer on, you want to use the meat of your finger, because we actually are going to be trying to mute the A string. You don't want to do that perfect rolled over shape that gives you a nice clear sound on all the other strings, because if our A string rings out and we play the whole chord of this like modified G, it's going to sound really bad like this. As opposed to if I mute it, difference there. But we don't want to be hearing that A string, and the way we can test it is if we have our finger set up, we want to play that A string, and if it sounds like that, where you can hear the percussive element of it, but you can't hear the note, you've been muting it correctly. So, mute that A string, we're going to hammer on the 3rd fret. We're going to hammer on the 3rd fret, then we're going to mute, and we're going to strum through most of the strings. Right. After that strum, we're going to take our pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, and we're going to strum and hammer on the ring finger on the 4th fret of the D string. So it'll sound a bit like this. So notice I'm not hammering on that pointer finger. It's already there before I strum, and then I'm hammering on the ring finger. And this part, it's sort of like you roll out and then you roll back in. So we're rolling out, then we're going to roll back in. So you're going to pull off that ring finger. You're going to hammer it on, then we're going to pull it off. It's a bit of an awkward pull off, but. And then we're going to play that muted modified G without our 2 fingers again. Then we're going to do it again. So Tyler he does on the G chord, he plays that little bit of a riff twice. He has the open hammer on, and after that we're playing the riff twice. That's once, and that's twice. So just to wrap it all up here real quick for the intro, we start with our D. That's once. That's twice, and then right back into it. Alright, so those little funky licks around the basic D, A, and G chord, we only do that during the instrumental parts. Once we're actually singing, we'll just be doing the normal D, A, and G, so it'll sound like this. Well, my buckle makes impressions on the inside of her thigh. There are little feathered Indians where we tussle through the night. If I'd known she was religious, then I wouldn't have came stone to the house of such an angel, too fucked up to get back home. Now here's where we get to the next part of the song, where he goes, hold me close, my dear. Where he's playing an A major and a G. We're going to play this 4 times. That's the 3rd time. And I will sing it now. That's the 4th time. Now we're going to play that B minor. And this is where he goes, I don't know if the word's exactly this, but it's something along the lines of, honey, tell me how your love comes through. And again, and I can always count on you. Back to our A major. Donna, when the bullets fly, G. Walk across the river just to hold you tonight. And we're back into the little riff. Alright, that's all the pieces that you need to play Feathered Indians by Tyler Childers. Hope you enjoy. We'll see you next time.